Now here's another good video reference I wanted to also show you from an animated movie, Hercules. And in this scene, you'll see Hercules kind of come up to the pillar, and at this point, he doesn't have his powers. It's right before he gets him back. He puts his hands under, and then he goes through the process of lifting a heavy object, and you're going to see the exact same ideas, the same principles I've been talking about: arching your back, reversals, and also timing and spacing issues. Now it's a pretty short clip, but it has everything that you need to see in order to really dissect it. And let's go ahead and start with the beginning part here. Now as he comes kind of towards the object, you see he does the same thing that we've seen before, which is readjusting himself to place himself as close as possible to the object that's heavy, that he's wanting to replace, that he's wanting to move. So he's trying to transfer this weight again onto his body. And by doing that, he came into the scene and he came as close as possible to this pillar and then placed himself and his body as close as he could in order to get as much of his body to transfer this weight onto. So at this point, he's getting close. Then he anticipates going down, slightly going down. Then he lifts his body up. Notice how his shoulder and his hip all actually made it up before his head or even the pillar noticed anything was going on. It's because the motion and the movement is actually coming from his core and transferring its way up, like I showed you in our last video reference. So as he does that, his head kind of dips a little bit, and then you see the movement of his head come up. It's like I said, he's transferring his weight. He's transferring and shifting the weight and the momentum from his core body up, through his chest, through his torso, into his head, and then straightening out his arms to kind of extend his body and his weight and his momentum up and arch his body kind of in an opposite direction. Now the other thing to really notice is also the reversals that's happening. If we look at his torso, it's actually, in the shape of a C shape. And that C shape is actually going to reverse into a reverse C shape when he lifts this object up. And that happens here. See how he reversed his torso? So now he went from a C shape to a reversed C shape. Again, this adds a nice dynamic quality to your animation, and it's also very appealing. So you definitely want to add that when you're working on this heavy lift or heavy push. Notice how he extends his arms as he's moving his head up. And here's a small note to kind of really take away here. Along with this momentum and this movement that he's trying to stretch himself up, you'll notice that the final strain that's happening is actually a strain in his neck and his head. It's just that in the clenching of his teeth. It's that small detail that's adding the extra level of believability in that small shake. So obviously here, he's transforming into his powers. But again, if we look and kind of trace over the arch in his back, he actually reverses from that forward C onto the reverse C as he's lifting this pillar up and over his head. So some more things to really note as you're working on your own stuff. So obviously this is more things that you can add to your arsenal to really look at your own video reference and try and take these important key poses and make sure that you add them to your animation.